What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you my version of a budget deck centered around Passimian. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. It really does help us out a lot, and lets us do more for you guys. And as for the question of the day, I've been looking into making a couple different budget decks from Sun and Moon. I already made my Dragonite deck. This is the second one that I am doing. And my question of the day is, which budget deck from Sun and Moon do you think has the best chance of having some success? Now, there are a couple other budget decks that I've seen. I think it's Dugtrio and Sharpedo, which my boy Aura pointed out to me. And there are a couple others here and there. But really, I think that the deck that has the best chance at success is the, well, Passimian deck, just straight up, like just straight on. I think the Passimian deck has the best chance. However, I think Dragonite really does have a great chance if it gets set up. Although, then again, relying on 2 stage 2s is a very difficult way to try to really build and run a deck. So that makes it a lot more difficult for Dragonite to have the success that I think it can. So just straight up, I think Passimian overall has the best chance at having the most success of the budget decks from Sun and Moon. However, let me know what you guys think of the budget decks from Sun and Moon, which ones you guys think are cool, and which ones you guys think have the best chance at success. Now, the reason I think Passimian has the best chance at success is because the deck, first of all, relies almost exclusively on basics. I mean, I threw in a Blitzle and Zebstrika line. I'll explain that in a little bit. But almost exclusively it relies on basics, which inherently makes the deck more consistent, less clunky, gives you more options for searching and all of that, and also lets you have your attackers down immediately. So that's why, first of all, I think Passimian has the best chance at being somewhat competitive. Also, the fact that Passimian relies on DCE. Now, that I did build a version of this deck that's not a budget version. It's with Carbink Break and Regirock, where you try to rely on strong energy, but I found that it's a little bit better to just rely on DCEs as opposed to strong energy. That way it's just one attachment per turn. You just have to work on recycling the DCEs, not worrying about like trying to get new energy onto the field, that type of thing. And oh, by the way, just like I said with the Dragonite deck, you might be thinking, Sticks, you're running a budget deck, and once again, you have a bunch of secret rares and a bunch of full arts. Sorry, again, this was originally not a budget deck. This had Shaman over Oranguru, but again, I saw the opportunity to make it a budget deck, so I just switched the Shaman out for the Oranguru, and was kind of too lazy just to switch all the secret rares. So with the non-secret rares and full arts, this is still a budget deck. However, I just, was again too lazy to switch all those back. So I apologize for that. But again, Passimian, with its searchability and its potential consistency and ability to run more cards because of just the focus on 4 DCEs, I think Passimian has the best chance to be competitive of the budget decks that come out from Sun and Moon. So, but again, just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. But on to the actual deck. Like I said, centered around Passimian, 110 HP. So actually, pretty not bad for a just basic non-GX, non-EX, all that stuff. Because I mean, it has the same HP as a Shaman, but it's just a single prize attacker. And the attack we're focusing on, we can't use Fling because we don't have any fighting energy. Attack we're focusing on is Team Play. 10 base for a DCE, does 30 more damage for each of your benched Passimian. Now, inherently you might look at that and be like, well, you're only hitting for 110 max because 3 Passimian on the bench, Passimian attacking, 10 base, plus 10 from fighting Fury Belt, so you're only hitting for 110, and you can't even knock out a Shaman because Shaman has resistance. Well, there are ways around that. First of all, I'm running 4 Mew because of Memories of Dawn. This Pokemon can use attacks of any of your basic Pokemon in play, so that way it can use Team Play. When you have 4 Passimian on the bench, all of a sudden Mew's hitting for 130, 140 damage with the Fighting Fury Belt, and that is very nice. So really this deck just focuses on consistently getting 140, 100 damage attacks out and just taking advantage of the prize trade. And also, not gonna lie, the types of Passimian and Mew really are nice for certain matchups. Being able to hit for super effective damage on Tauros, one-shot it with team play. Being able to hit things like, well, fighting Pokemon, being able to hit, well, some fighting Pokemon, being able to hit psychic Pokemon for super effective damage. Really, these two guys have pretty nice overall type synergy to be able to take certain one-shots. And then the tech that I'm running in this deck is 2/2 of Blitzle and Zebstrika. One thing that this deck would struggle with is Pokemon that have resistances to fighting, like Yveltal, Rayquaza, that type of thing. Zebstrika is a single prize way of taking a one-shot against those guys. And I have seen some people run Vespiquen. I think Zebstrika is a superior attacker, just because Vespiquen, you need to run more Pokemon in order to put them in the discard pile to be able to attack with it. So I don't know. I think that Zebstrika, you don't need to focus on being able to get up its attack, because it's literally just, oh, play a DCE on it and attack. You don't have to worry about getting Pokemon in the discard pile. It takes advantage of the Pokemon that have resistances to Passimian, and really just kind of helps out with the type trifecta that we have going on here, because these guys actually have type coverage or super effective coverage on a lot of the decks that you will face, which makes it pretty strong. Oh, and then also we're running the 2 Oranguru for the instructability. Basically a poor man's Shaman. Play that onto your bench. It's more consistent, but it doesn't quite have the draw power of the Shaman. So, yep, these are the Pokemon we're running with. 2 Oranguru, draw support, 4 Passimian, and 4 Mew. Max of both of those guys, because these are the attackers. 2/2 of Blitzle and Zebstrika, because you don't always need to use it. However, it is nice to have for one-shotting things like, well, one-shotting the Yveltal, Rayquaza, and then even just Shaman if you don't have a lot of Passimian on board. So yeah, that's the Pokemon we are going with. As for the items, running 1/1 of Escape Rope and Switch, because Passimian and Oranguru both have, well, even, that's a Blitzle, not a Zebstrika. Even Zebstrika, I mean, these guys all have a retreat cost that you don't want to pay, so having Switch and Escape Rope is a nice way of getting out of it. And also, this really doesn't affect much, because Blizzard Burn one-shots you anyway, but in case your opponent uses Lapras's Ice Beam GX to paralyze Passimian, you can use it to get out of there. But really, it's just so you don't have to pay the retreat cost with things like Zebstrika, Passimian, and Oranguru. As for the search options, we are running a couple different ones just because I wanted to show you all the options. First of all, 3 Nest Ball. Nest Ball for sure. 100% run that in the deck, because it gets you Passimian, Oranguru, and Mew. Just search those out, slap them right onto the bench. You don't have to worry about not being able to use abilities when you play from the hand like Shaman. So Nest Ball going straight from the deck to the bench is not a bad option. If you were just to run a straight Passimian Mew Oranguru deck, max out on Nest Ball. I'm only running 3 of those, just because we are relying a little bit on Zebstrika, and Nest Ball cannot get you Zebstrika. While it can get you Blitzle, not Zebstrika, so I'm only running 3 of those. 1 Repeat Ball to help you search out Passimian, really just a non-discard way of searching out Passimian, and non-Nest Ball way as well. 4 Ultra Ball, just to guaranteed get what we want when we want. There are enough tech cards in this deck that discarding isn't always a horrible thing. So, being able to just Ultra Ball away useless cards and get guaranteed what you want exactly when you want is very, very nice. So that's the search options of this deck, and that's the line that I'm running. Let me know if you guys run a different line and what works best for you. I would love to hear what you guys are running and whether or not that works. 4 Puzzle of Time to reuse our DCEs, get back Passimian straight from the discard pile. These Puzzles of Time have great synergy with teammates, and heck, even single puzzle has really nice synergy with Oranguru. If it's late game, you have 2 cards in your hand, you need 1, and you have an Instruct. Instead of just randomly getting 1, you can have an idea of the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you can arrange them in any way you want. So really, single puzzle and double puzzle both have excellent uses in this deck. So, I mean, obviously run 4 of those, especially if you're just relying on 4 DCEs and these attackers. Another method of recursion, we have Revive right there. When a Passimian gets knocked out, just throw it right back onto the bench with Revive. It's a great way of being able to just be like, okay, that Passimian attacked, got knocked out, and now it's right back in action, helping out with team play. 1 Special Charge to reuse our DCEs, just so we don't have to rely completely on Puzzle of Time. 1 Super Rod, this would be Sacred Ash, but unfortunately Sacred Ash is not in this format, so I ran Super Rod to throw Pokemon back into our deck just in case you don't have a Revive or anything like that, or you want to get back like Zebstrika, that type of thing. And then the switch, like I said, Town Map, 100% have to run this because your damage in this deck is dependent on having Passimian. So if you have 1 or 2 prized, you're going to be hitting for some very low damage, and you want to get those guys out ASAP. So you want to find out where they are in your prizes to be able to get them when you do eventually take a prize, just so you don't fall too far behind in the game. 4 Trainers Mail to help with consistency, 4 via Seeker to reuse all of our supporters, and as for these supporters, you have 3, 2, N, and Sycamore. I got rid of 1 Sycamore because you'll see, 2 Lysandre because I like running 2 Lysandre, 1 Pokemon Ranger as the kind of tech to help out with things like Jolteon and not just get shut out by Flash Ray, that type of thing. 1 Kukui to help with the damage. This deck doesn't hit for a lot of damage, so just adding 20 in a turn can really just change a 2-hit knockout into a 1-hit knockout, or set up a 3-hit knockout that turns into a 2-hit knockout. Basically, 20 damage is gigantic in this deck, and also Kukui helps you draw 2 cards, so that's very nice in itself as well. And then here's where the other Sycamore went, the Teammates. When a Passimian gets knocked out, you Teammates for a double puzzle, get back a Passimian and a double colorless, or you can just Teammates for any 2 cards in your deck. Your Pokemon are going to be knocked out almost every turn if you get into like mid-match, so having Teammates just to be able to get you exactly what you want when you want from your deck is very, very strong, and is why I'm running that over another copy of Sycamore. 3 Finding Fury Belt because all of our attackers save Zebstrika are basic, so it gives them a little bit more longevity, and also helps with the damage. Getting 10 more damage is still crucial. I mean, 10 more damage, 20 more damage, any of that is huge. Oh, and also it changes Passimian. It puts Passimian past that magic number of 130, because 130 is where a lot of one-shots on non-EX attackers happen, so some decks like kind of are focus a little more on that. Finding Fury Belt puts Passimian at 150, which is ridiculously bulky for a basic non-EX attacker, and yeah, that just helps out so much. And then of course the 4 DCE to actually attack. So yeah, that is the deck. I mean, it's straightforward overall. Seems like there's a ton of different cards, but the overall strategy is get Passimian out early, keep as many Passimian as you can on the bench, and just attack. So yeah, that's the deck, and let's just go ahead and see it in action. Alrighty, we have found one against Ripo with a Water Dark Fire deck, so honestly I have no idea what we're up against. Could be that like Umbreon Evolutions deck that's been running around, but then wouldn't you run Jolteon as well? I mean, it could still be running Jolteon, we just didn't see it there, and then the sleeves give me absolutely nothing to work with. But I start off with actually a very nice hand. I don't want to get rid of the I don't want to have to get rid of the switch and the escape rope turn 1, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do. We do see the enhanced hammer that my opponent is running, so that could actually be a problem, as the only energy we run in this deck are the 4 DCEs, and granted we do have plenty of ways of recovering them, but if my opponent gets a perfectly timed enhanced hammer, that could cause quite a bit of problems for us. And yeah, boy, so I even will have to discard part of a puzzle, so that's quite unfortunate right there. And yeah, this is the Umbreon Evolutions deck. Luckily, nothing that I run will be affected by the change in type of the Umbreon. I still think that's a really, really cool idea of running the wide lens on the Umbreon, so I might have to steal that at some point. Okay, not steal. I'm going to see an idea that I appreciate, and then I will adapt that idea to my own deck. I'm totally stealing it. I'm just gonna say that right now. That I think wide lens is a really, really cool idea on Umbreon, particularly because Choice Band hasn't come out yet, so I'm kind of hard pressed to think about other items that would do better on the Umbreon, so I'm honestly just not sure at this point. But either way, my opponent is getting a very, very explosive start. The Zoroark will also be a problem because we kind of want to fill the bench in this deck. You want to have as many Passimian down as possible. You want to have like an Oranguru, a couple Mew, So, I mean, having a full bench is definitely necessary in this deck. And, well, speak of the devil, there's an Oranguru. But, alright, so I'm going to immediately Town Map. I mean, it's beautiful that we're starting with a Town Map. I see that I have a DCE and a Passimian in my prizes. If I can get... Well, I guess that'll kind of keep me from being able to one-shot this Umbreon for right now. But I think at this point, I'm just going to... I could, like, Escape Rope switch, make my opponent bring in something they don't want to. Nah, I'm just going to Sycamore. I want to start hitting this Umbreon because I won't be able to OHKO it thanks to the Passimian that's in my prizes. And, okay. Do I want to run... Okay, let's first Repeat Ball so I can get another Passimian. That's going to be the main thing I'm going for. Let's play that sucker down. At least hit for like 80 damage. I mean, maybe if I can get another Passimian down, I can hit for more. But nope, I do not. I am just going to grab that VS Seeker, play the DCE onto the Passimian that's on the bench, retreat into it, and then hit the Umbreon for 80 damage. I was very careful with the amount of Pokemon I just played right then, because Zoroark will not be able to one-shot my Passimian if my opponent happens to get a DCE on it, because he will only do 100 damage. If I played down the Mew, then my opponent would have been able to hit for 130 damage, which would have knocked out a Passimian while simultaneously getting his Umbreon out of harm's way. So I'm going to have to be very selective with the Pokemon that I play down onto my bench and how many I play down. Oranguru wasn't useful turn 1, but I played that down there just because I know that that thing will be useful late game once my opponent ends me, and I really do have a very select amount of resources that I have to use. And my opponent is just going to attach the DCE to the Umbreon and then Sycamore. That is actually phenomenal for me, because if I can just happen to get my last Passimian, if I can get my last Passimian that's in my deck out, I will be able to one-shot this Umbreon, and granted, I will be in range of being knocked out by a Zoroark, but then again, I'm going to be in range of a Zoroark anyway because of the Shadow Bullet damage. So I think with my two prizes, I will take the... I don't know, do I want to take the Revive and the Passimian? The Passimian for sure, because that's just a resource that I want to have consistently. While I think I'm actually going to save the DCE in my prizes for late game, that way it doesn't just become lost in my deck. And yeah, my opponent is just going to attack my active Passimian, get 30 on the bench, but if I can get one more down, I will be able to one-shot my opponent's Umbreon. And I'm not sure if I want to play the Mew. I don't think so. I think I'm just going to discard two Mews and then both of the Blitzle and Zebstrika. And there we go. I am able to get my last Passimian down. That is great for me. Let's go ahead and grab that, guys. Play it right onto the bench. Slap a Fighting Fury Belt onto it if TCGO will ever play it down. Okay, please. I'm about to knock out an Umbreon. Okay, there we go. Alright, so apparently whining works like a charm. I am going to grab another VS Seeker and we'll win for the inevitable situation that my opponent knocks out this Passimian. I'll be able to immediately teammates, get two cards that I need. So let's knock out the Umbreon. I'm taking the DCE Passimian, I think. Yeah, because, I mean, while I don't know, I just said I wanted to have it in my prizes for later. I just want that DCE. That way I have better odds of drawing it if my opponent ends me down to 4. I thought about it, and no, it's not good to just leave something in your prizes to where you have to rely on a knockout to get it. I want to be able to have that thing exactly when I need it, so that's what I'm going for at this point. My opponent is going to just Ultra Ball, probably grab another Umbreon, I would guess, or another Zoroark. Either way, all my opponent needs is a DCE, or heck, he even just needs a Darkness Energy on the Eevee to be able to strafe for a knockout on this Passimian. So, actually runs a Pyukumuku. That's interesting. I mean, it kind of makes sense with strafe, but I don't know. I don't think Pyukumuku is such a good idea in that deck. I feel like it would clunk things up. I mean, it can buy a turn. You can also, like, use the Rush-In, Retreat, or the Stand-In. I'm sorry. It's always going to be Rush-In to me. You can use the Stand-In and Retreat into Pyukumuku to deter your opponent attacking, but I mean, you can just knock out my Passimian with any 10 damage attack. I mean, What's funny is my opponent might even go for team play. He could go for fling, but I think for humor's sake, go ahead and go for the team play, just to... Oh, well, foul play the team play. And, okay, there we go. So, my opponent did team play my Passimian for a whopping 20 damage, 10 damage from the base, and then 20 from the reverse valley. But luckily, I do have another Passimian to play down. I am going to VS Seeker for a Teammates to probably get another Puzzle of Time. For sure, get one of those. And then, I'm not sure what else. Do I want to grab a Sky Field, maybe? So either way, I'm going to have access to two things in my discard pile. I think at this point, let's grab another VS Seeker. That way I have access to another Teammates next turn if I need to. Let's double puzzle. Probably grab the Passimian and probably the DCE, just because that is a very, very, very valuable resource. Or do I want another VS Seeker? I think the VS Seeker, because I have the Special Charge. And then let's go ahead and play that down there. And then do I want to play down my other Passimian? Because I think I have enough damage. No, I don't think I do. I think I'll be 10 damage short. Do I want to grab the Revive? Well, I think because I have access to the Revive, I'm going to go ahead and team play, knock out my opponent's Zoroark. I think I would have needed that anyway. But yeah, let's grab the Revive because all my opponent needs is a DCE to be able to knock out this Passimian. And then at which point I can just revive it back onto my bench, go ahead and Teammates, grab another DCE, and go from there. So in a very good position. My opponent ends me down to 3. This is where Oranguru really might come in very, very handy. Because all I need to do is just play 2 cards, and okay, I get a DCE, I get my other Puzzle of Time. My opponent does get the DCE onto a Zoroark, that is fine. I'll be able to one-shot that thing, and I'll actually be able to control what I top deck with the Puzzle of Time, because I've already used 2, so that or I've already used 3, so that means it really won't matter what else I play. Like, it really won't matter if I... What am I trying to say? Like, this puzzle is essentially useless because all the other puzzles are in my discard pile. So what I'm going to do, first of all, play the Finding Fury Belt onto the undamaged Passimian. Just, I mean, because it's a much better play to play it on the Passimian, I think, on the undamaged Passimian. But I have enough. So if I played it onto the Mew, I would have been able... No, I wouldn't have been able to hit through resistance because resistance is minus 20, not minus 10. I'm playing the Blitzle just so I can get the 3 cards, and... Doesn't matter what order I play them in. Yeah, I know I'm playing a little bit into Mind Jack, but because my opponent doesn't have anything like that, I will be fine. My opponent doesn't have a Zorua or another Zoroark out, so I don't have to worry about Mind Jack at this point. And I can potentially threaten a one-shot on the Shaman with a Zebstrika. I'm going to Trainers Mail. Probably grab Kukui or Ultra Ball. That's the question. I think Ultra Ball. Yeah, let's go ahead and Ultra Ball, or not, well, grab the Ultra Ball. That way I can discard the 2 Lysandres later if I need it. Either way, I'm just going to take a knockout with team play onto this Zoroark. And I grabbed an Ultra Ball just in case I need to grab the Zebstrika. But let's grab... Actually, you know what? I should have just grabbed the Kukui or the Sycamore, because that way I would have a draw supporter as opposed to Ultra Balls. But really, at this point, I just want to try to thin my deck as much as possible, and Ultra Ball would be great for that, just discarding cards that you don't necessarily want to draw into later when my opponent decides to end me again. So my opponent does go into the Pyukumuku. That's fine. And we see the Enhanced Hammer. That is big. And then my opponent's going to go into his Eevee, well, Energy Evolution up into an Umbreon. That's fine. My opponent just had to attach in order to do that, so I don't have to worry about a Shadow Bullet this turn. So all I need is a one-shot on the Shaman or the Umbreon. Passimian gets me the one-shot on the Umbreon. Zebstrika or Mew will get me the one-shot on the Shaman. I think. No. Zebstrika is the only thing right now that can one-shot the Shaman. I'm sorry. Whenever I think one-shot the Shaman, I think of I shot the Sheriff, but I did not shoot the Deputy. That's just something I think of. Sorry. But let's Ultra Ball, get rid of the Lysandre and the Mew. Probably grab the Oranguru. Let's grab the Oranguru, and then I think I think Ultra Ball again, get rid of the Lysandre and the Oranguru to grab the Zebstrika. That way I can instruct for 3 cards as opposed to only 1 or 2. And yeah, Oranguru is going to come through very clutch. I need... What do I need? I have an... Okay, I get an N and a Fighting Fury Belt. Let's play the Fighting Fury Belt onto the Mew. Because the Mew will give me damage on... Will give me the one-shot on the Shaman. And wow, that was very nice. That was a very nice top deck. So what I am going to do is counter my opponent's Stadium with Sky Field. And then I'll be taking 6 damage from knocking out the Pyukumuku. But at this point, it will allow me to be able to one-shot, well, just knock out an Eevee or a Zorua to be able to take the game. So take the damage there. That's fine. I'm grabbing the Sycamore. That way my opponent knows I have a draw supporter. I have means of drawing potentially into my last DCE, or one of my last DCEs. I should probably count that, but that's beside the point. He will be able to knock me out with a Shadow Bullet. Hex Maniac, that would be a good play if I didn't just grab a Sycamore, and my opponent saw that I grabbed a Sycamore. So that Hex Maniac, unless my opponent didn't have an N, was very, very curious. So either way, Passimian's going to get knocked out. He's just going to get 30 more onto the other Passimian. I'm going to put Mew active because that thing has free retreat. I really don't need to worry about it. And I get a Ranger. That's actually probably one of the perfect things to top deck, so I can just get rid of it. Ooh, here we go. How do I want to play this? So let's go ahead and revive immediately. Put a Passimian back onto my bench. That's fine right there. And then I think Super Rod back in the other Passimian after putting the 2 Special Charge back into my deck. I knew I had that. That wasn't a problem. And then, so let's see. What order do I want to do this in? I think Super Rod first. Hold on. How do I... Yeah, let's Super Rod. Put the Passimian and a couple Mew. Or do I want... Yeah, Passimian and a couple Mew back into the deck. Then Ultra Ball, get rid of... No. Let's hold on to the Ultra Ball. That way I have a way of searching out my other Passimian should my opponent end me down to 1 card. Because I will get a second one off of my top deck. And then Oranguru will be able to get me another card. So I'm holding on to the Ultra Ball as a way of getting another Passimian. And then I can just kind of use like DCEs and stuff like that. There we go. There's the end. That is exactly why I held on to the Ultra Ball. And okay, I just draw right into my last Passimian. That's fine. But my opponent is just going to go ahead, take the knockout on the Mew, attack the other Passimian on the bench, and that's why I put Mew active. Probably, well, I wanted to like tempt my opponent into taking the knockout, and I actually just win the game off of that top deck of a DCE. But in these cases, I don't like my opponent just thinking that I'm lucky, so I'm gonna play out all of my outs, and then that way I can be like, okay, look, I had this many ways of drawing into a DCE, even though I already had it in my hand. And of course, there's no kill like overkill, so let's just Kukui, get 20 more damage, knock out the Umbreon, and take the victory. So that was a very awesome game, actually. I'm very excited. That was a very close game. Came down to the wire. It came down to bench management on my part, so that Mind Jack could only occasionally take a knockout. And okay, I'll be honest, weakness was kind of the MVP of this game, but you know what? We take those. That's what Pokemon is. And wow, that was clutch. My heart is beating. I hope you guys enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed playing this game. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.